And joining us now to give us a broader perspective on both the political and military aspects is our panel for today. Former Director General of the Ministry of Strategic Affairs and Senior Fellow with the Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs, Brigadier General Reserves Yossi Kuperwasser, and Jerusalem Post political correspondent Eliav Breuer. Eliav, we're starting with you. This is a very fluid political day. Where does the legislation currently stand in the Knesset?
So the legislation is currently, the reasonable standard bill debate has started. It started at 10 o'clock this morning, and it's scheduled to last 26 hours straight until 12 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, after which there'll be a few hours of voting. And then if nothing happens to the bill, it's scheduled to pass into law tomorrow at some point in the afternoon or early evening.
Are there any signs that a compromise can be reached before the deadline, maybe?
So there are a lot of different reports coming out of from different angles. We have reports from the Histadrut, from Israel's largest labor union, of Arnon Bar David, who's the head of the union, publishing just a couple hours ago a proposal for compromise that the Likud struck down. And there's also been a number of other compromises on the table. It's important to understand, though, that the wording of the bill can no longer change because the bill's already been finalized in the relevant Knesset committee. The only way for there to be any change to the bill is if the coalition agrees to support and vote in favor of one of the objections put forward by the opposition. So it's almost a technical back channel to try to get compromise at the last minute.
Yes, now Eliav, many thousands of protesters are camped outside the Knesset in general over the country. Might there be problems maintaining decorum inside and outside of the Knesset?
I'm actually sitting in the Knesset right now, and it's eerily quiet. The security here has been ramped up, so they're only letting in people with permanent pass holders. So I definitely think it's going to be loud outside the Knesset. Might even be heard in the Knesset's hallways, but I don't think anybody's to worry about any attempts to actually physically obstruct the procedures.
And what happens politically and in the streets in the hours and days after the law passes, if it does, of course?
Excellent question. I think that the streets, I don't know if there'll be a change. We'll probably just see more of the same, more protesting, might even pick up a little bit. I think what the interesting, which I'm sure Yossi can talk about in more depth, is to see what's going to happen behind closed doors in the Kiryah, in Israel's bases, and amongst doctors and other professionals who've expressed their concern over the bill.
Interesting. Thank you, Eliav. Now, Yossi, we're really touching upon that. More than 10,000 reservists will refuse service if the law passes. Perhaps many thousands more will follow. How or can the IDF even manage without them?
It can manage, but it's going to be difficult. The more the reservists adopt this kind of policy, it's going to be more difficult for the military to keep its readiness to perform the tasks it has. And that's clear. And I just hope that all those threats are not going to materialize when the time comes and these people are going to be summoned to duty.
And you might be able to explain it a little better. Why is the main focus on really the reservists, the pilots? I mean, we're not talking about any other reservists. Why that? Why is the focus there?
First of all, this attitude was inside the reservists of the Air Force for quite a while. There was an organization of pilots and Air Force people for quite a long time that were very much against the government and against Netanyahu and against everything that he represents in their eyes. So this is not something new. Many people point at the fact that they are sort of an elite group or something like that. I don't know. I know many pilots, and there are all kinds of. So I cannot say that these are the pilots. We have a minister that is a pilot and is a member of the Likud party. So it's hard to say. But generally, the feeling is that the people from the ground forces are more leaning towards the right, and the Air Force is more leaning to the left. This is something that, from my experience in the military, I've served for 35 years. I never thought that anybody that I'm speaking with has any political opinion. The real problem here is that this entire episode is bringing the politics inside the military. This is the very dangerous development, because the military should be totally away from any political affiliation and political activity. And now we see that these people bring the political views into the military. This is something that is extremely dangerous and extremely irresponsible on behalf of those people who do that. And I'm worried about the repercussions, not for the military. It's one area where I'm concerned with, but I'm more concerned with the repercussions for Israel as a state. It's really dismantling of the basis upon which the state is based. And on top of that, it is a message to our enemies that Israel is weak from inside. And it calls upon them to take more action against Israel. And they have so many reasons to believe that Israel is weak recently that it's really worrisome from my point of view as somebody who really cares about the security of the state of Israel.
Yes, it really brings me to the next question. You have been a top official both in the army and also in the government. If you were an advisor to the prime minister, might you suggest that the political gain in the Knesset is not worth the potential loss really in the battlefield? As you said, we're seeming weak.
Well, spare me the need to be an advisor to the prime minister at this point. He's under so many contradicting pressures. If he stops now, it is as if the military coup has accomplished its goals and we cease to be a democracy. If he doesn't stop, then all the repercussions that we were just talking about are going to take place. So it's really a very difficult situation for the prime minister. And in the end of the day, my assessment is that he's going to continue with these efforts to find a last-minute solution. And if he doesn't find one, he will go forward with the legislation and expect the developments that are going to follow. And as Eliav said, nobody knows what's going to happen.
Definitely nobody knows. Now, let's suppose for a moment that the reservists and perhaps many more will now refuse service. Might the government have to rethink the whole people army concept? I mean, maybe even drafting the ultra-Orthodox may now become a real security need to replace all of those who resign.
Well, let's keep it to the proper proportions. Even with all those who threaten to not come when they're called to duty, we are still able to maintain our military strength for considerable time in the future. It's something that's going to erode our capabilities, but it's not going to make them disappear within a short period of time. And the concept of the People's Army is a basic concept for Israel, and I don't think that anybody is going to change it. And we also have to remember the competition here between the two sides is who is more patriotic, not who is more against the state of Israel. They're both very patriotic. The question is who is more patriotic. So I think that if we are going to face a real threat from the outside, everybody is going to come back. Because what is the logic? I was saying that this is an irresponsible move. What is the logic? They live here. If there is a rocket coming from Gaza or from Lebanon, does it know if it's going to hit somebody who is a member of the family of those who refuse to serve or those who are going to serve? It's ridiculous. They are not going to put their families in harm's way. So I think that when the test is going to be really put in front of them, they're going to fail in it.
Eliav, Yossi, in really short, where do you see the situation going, Eliav?
I wouldn't be surprised if we see a last-minute compromise. I think Netanyahu has shown that he's a master at waiting to the last minute and then giving compromise at the very last second.
We're definitely praying on that. Eliav and Yossi, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.